What's going on, everyone? So with NFL draft season in full swing, the Green Bay Packers have had yet another handful of top 30 visits to go over. Last week, I made a video going over the current list, including 8 total players, and since that point last week, the Packers have visited with another 6 players. Now, the top 30 or 30 visits is 30 visits that the Packers can make with prospects, bring them into their facilities, get a better idea of the type of person and player that player is. Back in the day with Ted Thompson, he used to really only do late round visits or prospects that were suspected of not going drafted. But now with Brian Gutekunst at GM, he actually takes visits with a plethora of different players, some that are projected to go in the first round, middle rounds, late rounds to undrafted. Now, this doesn't mean the Packers are fully interested in these players, but also it's something to monitor because last year the Packers, 4 of their draft picks were also a top 30 visit. So it definitely has some importance in terms of the players they're visiting with and also the positions that they're visiting with and how many times they're taking a visit with a particular position. Then showcasing that position is a big need and something that's going to be targeted in the upcoming draft. Quickly, before we dive down into the new top 30 visit list for the Green Bay Packers, wanted to remind you guys I'm still giving away this signed Lucas Van Ness jersey here. Thank you to Sleeper, and it's very easy to enter in this signed jersey. Simply go down, click the link in the description, download the Sleeper app, use code BASS, B-A-S, to make a first-time deposit. That'll enter you in this giveaway, which is going through the end of April, as well as get you a first-time deposit match on Sleeper up to $500. Then while on Sleeper, you can partake in fantasy sports where you choose higher or lower on any given stat of any player in a multitude of different sports. And also, new users on the app get a free promotional pick, such as tonight in the men's college basketball championship, more or less than 0.5 points for center Zach Edey on Purdue, which is pretty much a free pick. You can choose from 2 to 8 of your favorite picks, higher or lower on certain stats, and get up to 100 times payouts. So again, guys, to enter in this signed Lucas Van Ness Packers jersey here, I'm giving away through the month of April. Go down, download Sleeper, make a first-time deposit with code BASS. You'll get that deposit matched up to $500 and be entered in this giveaway. Thank you to Sleeper for sponsoring this video. All right, so now let's dive into the newest 6 prospects the Packers have had a top 30 visit with. In last week's video, we went over that the Packers had met with Zach Zinter, Jarian Jones, Jaquan Shepard, Edgerrin Cooper, Trevin Wallace, Michael Hall, Christian Boyd, and Tyler Guyton. The new 6 prospects since then are as follows: Kitan Oladapo, safety from Oregon State; Omar Brown, safety from Nebraska; Tyron Hopper, linebacker from Missouri; Amarius Mims, tackle from Georgia; Chris Edmonds, safety from Arizona State; and Ray Davis, running back from Kentucky. So now let's break down these prospects in specific, and we'll start with Kitan Oladapo, who is a player. I actually did a prospect overview or prospect spotlight last week, and as I was doing that, the Packers had met with him, so I was like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to release that video. We go over Kitan Oladapo in depth and also break down some of his film. He's one of my favorite safety prospects, and I think he's a very underrated safety. A lot of people have him in the 7th round, the 6th round. I think he could go as early as the 4th or 5th. And I think if the Packers were to make that selection, maybe as their second safety draft selection or even their first, right, I still think he's going to be an excellent safety in the NFL, more so a box safety, and that's exactly what the Packers need. We see last year an 88.3 overall grade, but he played, 292 snaps in the box, 174 deep, 278 in the slot, so you can move him around a lot. A tremendous run defense grade of 91.3, high forced incompletion rate, 12.1 missed tackle percentage. He only allowed 21 receptions on 36 targets, a 61.3 passer rating allowed. He's 6'1", 217 pounds. Looking at his RAS, he's a great athlete, 8.18. Not the fastest guy, 4.58, but he has great elite size, 6'2", 216. Nice vertical, 36-inch vertical. So he fits the Packers every threshold for, say, a safety. They usually don't care too much on the height, but they do usually want safeties at 200 pounds or over. And then, of course, just for what they need a box safety. They just need more safety depth in general, and I think Kitan Oladapo would be an awesome selection, so I'm glad they had a visit with him. Next on the list is Omar Brown, another safety from Nebraska, and he's someone that I know a lot of people like as well. I believe I've drafted him in a couple mock drafts for the Packers, and he's also kind of a mid to late round safety. That's definitely an option for the Packers, and via PFF, he also had a very nice 2023 campaign, an 82.8 grade with 49 tackles, 11 missed, so a little bit of a high missed tackle rate at 16.4%, a little bit of an issue there, but he was a great coverage safety at Nebraska, 84.5 coverage grade, also a good run defense grade, 74.3. He only allowed 35 receptions, but targeted 59 times, so only a passer rating allowed of 62.7, had an interception, forced 6 incompletions, and we see Omar Brown has mainly been a slot defender in 2023, 434 snaps in the slot, only 60 deep, and 147 in the box, so he may very well transition into just a slot defender in the NFL, say a slot cornerback, which is also something that the Packers need, so I'm glad they have visited also with Omar Brown. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. Looking at his RAS, not the greatest athlete by any means, a 6.59, almost 6'1" on his official height, so not exactly 6'1", but almost 205 pounds. Really low bench reps of 11 there, but decent explosion grade, 35-inch vertical, 10-foot broad jump speed, about what you're seeing with safeties nowadays in the mid 4.5s, a 4.53 safety, but a really nice 10-yard split, so good explosion off that line. And then shuttle, pretty poor, but 3-cone above average. I think if the Packers were looking to add, say, a mid to late round defender that kind of has some versatility, but mainly can be a slot defender, they need depth in that room behind Keyshawn Nixon, Omar Brown is a good option. Next on the list is Tyron Hopper, linebacker from Missouri, and via PFF, he did not have a good 2023, but again, PFF isn't the end-all be-all, but he didn't have a good grade, a 51.5. He had 45 tackles with 17 missed, so although the PFF grades don't mean as much, the missed tackle, that's what it is, right? He missed 17 tackles on 45 total tackles. That's a missed tackle rate of 22.7%. It's one of the higher missed tackle rates I've seen on PFF for this season, for this draft season. Also very poor coverage grade of a 39.6. Pass rush grade above average. Run defense grade right about exactly at average. He allowed 21 receptions on 30 targets, a 70% completion rate. Allowed a touchdown, passer rating of 103.6. So for all accounts, Tyron Hopper, probably a 7th round to undrafted free agent type of guy at linebacker. That's what I'm seeing him as, but correct me if I'm wrong. Any Missouri fans, feel free to chime in down in the comments what you think of Tyron Hopper. 6'2", 221 pounds. In terms of RAS, a decent athlete at linebacker. A little bit undersized, 6'1.6", so not even 6'2", 231 pounds, but great explosion grade, good vertical, good broad jump. A little bit on the slower side, 4.68, 20-yard split's nice, 10-yard split, and then agility grade very poor there with a low shuttle and low 3-cone. So probably a linebacker that's going to go, 7th round, maybe a special team guy, maybe ends up seeing defensive snaps in the next coming years, but maybe also an undrafted guy. But again, the Packers are doing top 30 visits with a wider range of prospects. It's not just their top 30 prospects by any means. That's why a lot of people don't like that it's listed as a top 30 visit, because these aren't the top guys that the Packers are looking at. Next, we have Amarius Mims, tackle out of Georgia. Now, this is a prospect that's going to go in the first round and could be available at 25. And I know a lot of people are intrigued by Amarius Mims. Although he doesn't have a lot of experience, a lot of people believe he's one of the most intriguing prospects at the tackle position and could become something very, very great. I believe he was the mock draft pick in the Daniel Jeremiah's last mock draft he did, where actually I made a video on that, kind of going over Amarius Mims more in depth. But we see the last 3 seasons, good PFF grades, but only played in 7 games last year. All at right tackle the last 3 seasons, but again, not many snaps. 297 snaps last year, 383 the year before that, and 121 the year before that. Great pass block grade, though, 81.2. Hasn't allowed a sack in all 3 of those seasons, although lower amount of snaps. I believe that's over 800 snaps and didn't allow a single sack. So if we look at his overall thing here, he's 6'7", 340 pounds. Don't know the last time the Packers have drafted an offensive lineman that big, so it kind of goes outside of their normal thresholds for tackle. So it'd be interested to see if the Packers would actually draft Amarius Mims. But it stated here, Mims is not a polished prospect. prospect. He's a level below former teammate and first-round pick Broderick Jones, but he brings sky-high potential. He'll take some developing, but trench players built like this don't make it out of the top 50. So if the Packers want to bring in a tackle to develop behind Rasheed Walker, behind Zach Tom, eventually maybe become that full-time right tackle, move Zach Tom into center or guard in the following season, which we know the Packers love to develop linemen. So if they see all the tools there and see the sky-high potential, the Packers could definitely be interested in Amarius Mims. Looking at his RAS, he's a tremendous athlete, 9.59 RAS, great speed grade, elite size grade, of course, almost 6'8". 6'7.6", 340 pounds, and also a great broad jump for that size, 9'3" broad jump. So definitely checks all the boxes in terms of an athlete for the Green Bay Packers at the tackle position. So he's definitely on the board of option or opportunity at 25, that's for sure. Next, we have safety Chris Edmonds, who doesn't have a profile on PFF or NFL Draft Buzz, so I found this article going over the visit with the Packers and kind of going over some of his stats. Edmonds, a transfer from Samford, produced 121 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 8 pass breakups over 2 seasons at Arizona State. According to Pro Football Focus, Edmonds finished with 26 stops while playing mostly in the box for Arizona State's defense in 2023. He also had experience at free safety and in the slot. Edmonds did miss 13 tackles and gave up 3 touchdown passes in coverage during a disappointing season overall for the Sun Devils. Edmonds, 6'2", 210 pounds, wasn't invited to the combine, but at Arizona State's Pro Day, Edmonds ran the 40-yard dash in 4.46 seconds, hit 32 inches for vertical, and covered a 9'8" broad jump. If you're looking at his RAS, going over all those things, it's a 5.62. So he has elite size to speed, but everything else is pretty average, below average to poor. 6'2", 210 pounds with 4.46 speed. That much is intriguing for, say, a potential box type of safety. I don't know much about him. Probably a 7th round to undrafted type of prospect. Doesn't seem like he had too great of a season, but you're kind of buying into the potential and the size to athletic ratio with Edmonds. The final player on this list is running back Ray Davis, and it's actually the first running back they've had a top 30 visit with. I expect a few more as the Packers round out these 30 visits, but he's had a couple excellent seasons at Kentucky. Ray Davis last year ran for 1,131 yards and 14 touchdowns, but also had 32 receptions for 324 yards. The year prior in 2022 also ran for over 1,000 yards, had 29 receptions and 169 receiving yards, a rushing grade last year of a 91.4, elusive rating very, very high, 96.6, also a very high yards after contact per attempt at 3.81. So in terms of Ray Davis, he's a very capable 3-down type of running back that can be used in the running game, in the passing game, and also blocking as well. 5'10", 216 pounds. The bottom line states Davis might not have the build and long speed of a back drafted in the top 50, but his vision, feel for space / blocking, and one-cut ability to make him efficient ball carrier with good hands in the passing game. This should make him a mid-round selection and potential starter. Now, a couple issues with Ray Davis is he's been in college for 5 years and has an extensive injury history. So that's something that probably is going to drop his draft stock to day 3, in my opinion. I do believe he's going to be a day 3 pick for sure. Maybe even say a 6th round pick. That's kind of where I see Ray Davis. But the Packers very well could just draft a running back, say in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, and be like, hey, that's our 3rd running back behind Josh Jacobs, behind A.J. Dillon. I'm completely content with that. And Ray Davis, obviously has the experience, 5 years of college ball with some injury history, but the last 2 seasons over 1,000 yards, the last 2 seasons around 30 receptions each. So he has the experience, and if the Packers want an experienced 3rd running back, Ray Davis is a good option. So that does it for the next group of top 30 visits for the Green Bay Packers, with the first video and now this video and all the top 30 visits the Packers have made. Now that totals 14. So we're still waiting on another 16 top 30 visits. So I'll probably make another video when the next 8 come out, and then a final video when the final 8 come out. So be on the lookout for that on this channel. We do a ton of different Packers content, especially draft content. We do mock drafts, prospect spotlights. We go over visits and all that, all here on this channel. So if that does interest you, definitely go down and click subscribe if you haven't already. But I appreciate you guys coming out to the video. If you could also please leave a like down below. It supports the channel a ton. But I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.